Alright, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Broken Ronin, and today we are checking out what if Nobara reached her full potential? And yes, I am fully up to date with Jujutsu Kaisen. I just thought this would be interesting, because there was a time where I mentioned that we didn't know what happened to Nobara, and that she could potentially still be alive. And then I got told that I was dumb and I needed to be spoon-fed narrative. And then the last chapter of JJK happened. And I felt like being the bigger man and just waiting until I do a reaction video and go, ha, I was right! But I'm interested to see what this video is before Nobara starts showing us like all her other stuff. You know what I mean? She's been gone for a while. See if he was like potentially right. See what I did there? Potential. But yeah, let's get into this. So what if Nobara reached her full potential?
In regards to sorcery and potential for greatness, Nobara Kugisaki is one of the most unorthodox main characters of the series.
Yeah, like the way she fights is so strange.
When compared to her peers,
Well, when I say that, it suits JJK.
it may seem like her room for growth is rather limited. However, her brief exchange with Mahito in Shibuya and Black Flash Feet beg to differ. In
Yeah, like when she's fighting Mahito, I loved it. I thought that was so cool.
this video, I'll explain just how strong Nobara could become upon her eventual return, or what Jujutsu Society may have lost from her death.
Now that is interesting. So he isn't definitely saying that she was killed off. So what could potentially happen if she comes back? Oh, this makes this even more interesting.
Just as I have with many characters before, today I'll be going over the
Sick. Love this. This is cool.
full potential of Nobara Kugisaki. When it comes to realizing the full potential of a character in Jujutsu Kaisen, typically the first thing that must change is the mindset. Jogo in particular comes to mind as a prime example of this fact, as he is noted to have potential to reach the heights of Satoru Gojo, yet his limited mindset kept him from reaching that level of power. Megami is mentioned by Gojo himself to be restricting his potential based on his own mentality, and even Nanami is often used as a benchmark for what not to think if you are a sorcerer aiming for a top spot in the verse. Fortunately for Nobara, I think that the mental aspect of sorcery is something that she actually has covered. In just about every fight that she participates in, or every scene where she's really able to display her character and mentality, she makes it quite obvious that she has the foundation of a really strong sorcerer. In the battle against Esso and Kechizu, she's able to find these sparks of black in the heat of battle. And when Yuji finds himself being mentally burdened by taking a life, Nobara couldn't care, as she lives by her own desires for the sake of people that she chooses to care about.
Oh yeah, she got so much potential now.
Much like Gojo, Mahito, and even Sukuna, Nobara doesn't waste much time or effort moralizing or attempting to justify her own actions. If you haven't earned your spot as an important person in your life, you can be discarded just like that. Now, her desires aren't nearly as malicious as Sukuna and Mahito's for sure, but the same disregard for all others remains, and that's essential to making her powerful and allowing her to tap into the core of cursed energy once more. Along with mindset, talent and imagination are both extremely important factors in determining the level of sorcerer that you can become in the end. And while Nobara certainly doesn't have the greatest levels of talent in the verse, I think what she may lack in raw ability can be made up for by her imaginative mind and expansive interpretation of her curse technique. Now,
Yeah, like her fight with the Mahito shows like how cool her technique is and how effective it is.
but don't get this twisted. In terms of potential, Nobara isn't just some random. The fact that she was able to pull off a Black Flash proves quite the opposite, and her observation of the soul also demonstrates just how exceptional she could be if given a lot of time to flourish.
Yeah, like how many people have thrown black flashes around within the series? Not that many.
Now, unlike many of the characters that I've talked about in the series before, Nobara's toolkit doesn't necessarily lend itself to being used individually or on the front lines exclusively, and I think her battle with Haruta demonstrates this really well. We'll talk about improving her close quarters capabilities very briefly, but Nobara is consistently shown to be the most effective when she has the proper time to strategize, analyze, and respond to her opponents in a way that isn't conducive to fighting up close. While it is true that Nobara was attempting to protect someone as well as fight Haruta, which caused her to be off guard, the fact that someone of his level could even press her in this circumstance to the degree that he did isn't great. This close quarters problem could certainly be assuaged to some extent though through tenuous physical training and cursed energy enhancements, but as made clear numerous times throughout the story, there is a limit to how far an individual can go with just that. Anomalies like Toji, Yuji, Gojo, and Yuta can surpass these limitations for a myriad of reasons, but they are exceptions, not the rule itself.
Right, I
If
like
given
that,
enough
yeah,
time
cool.
to truly dedicate her body and mind to training, though, I can definitely see her obtaining physical stats relative to that of someone like Mei. In regards to base physical ability and cursed energy volume, Mei hasn't given us any reason to assume that she's insanely above what's attainable for more sorcerers, or that she's exceptional in terms of her talent. And considering the fact that she also uses a weapon in close range much like Nobara, I think comparing the two, at least in this regard, makes quite a bit of sense. With just this, Nobara's efficacy as a sorcerer would explode, turning her from a liability up close to a competent combatant that can hold her own against some pretty powerful opponents.
Which is interesting as well, isn't it? Because from what we've seen, we only seen her at the end of that chapter doing what she did. I'm trying not to spoil it a lot. I mean, I've already spoiled that she's back, but like, it's still utilizing the ability as she was. I'm hoping we get more. I'm hoping we do get more. We've only got like 4 more chapters left, haven't we? Though, so it's like but I like that we brought all 3. Technically, all 3 are going to be fighting Sukuna together, and I was trying to explain this to my friend the other day, who doesn't even read or watch this, and I was like, I think it's cool that we brought the three people set up to be like, Team 7 from Naruto, back together to fight the big bad near the end.
As I mentioned earlier, though, up close and personal isn't actually where I think Nobara's true.
Because Megami is in, is there. Yuji's physically, they're all, yeah.
Talents lie.
You know what I
Nor do
mean?
think her curse technique's full potential necessitates that she fights alone. In order to find out exactly what the limits of her own abilities are, we must look at her battle against Mahito and the 2 special grade death painting brothers to find some common ground.
Yeah.
Whenever Nobara has succeeded in battle against troublesome opponents, it seems to be the case that she's playing the role of support, or as I mentioned earlier, is at least able to take some time to break down who she is fighting and apply her technique wisely.
Yeah, she's clever.
Against Mahito, she is fighting a weaker clone, and resonance is used to severely weaken and stagger the real body that Itadori is facing. And against Esso and Kechizu, it's when she can rely on Yuji's aggressive fighting style and physical might that she's free to play to her own strengths.
just jumps in now.
Resonance and
She's like,
hairpin
right, I
are the
can do
core
this.
abilities that Nobara uses in battle, and although the scope of her technique may seem limited, especially when compared to other characters in the series, what exactly she can do in battle with a bit of elbow grease and creative thinking is quite impressive. Take hairpin, for example. In the canon, this move essentially just adds an explosive force to her nails to do some decent damage to her opponents.
So cool.
And while it's powerful enough to cause some physical damage to those who get hit by it, the primary problem for Nobara stems from the fact that these nails are rather slow and easily avoided by any competent sorcerer, curse user, or curse spirit themselves.
Yeah, like, she got to actually hit. She got to be direct. It's yeah. If there was like some really cool freaking fast speed on that, that'd be awesome.
Anything grade 2 or below is likely to get decimated by just this simple move, but the moment that she runs into anything with quicker reflexes, Nobara would start to have some trouble. Now, her enhanced physical abilities could certainly help with that, as she would now have the strength and dexterity to launch these nails at an even higher velocity, but merely adding an extra step to her cursed energy manipulation when using this technique could do wonders. My thinking is that Nobara takes inspiration from Haruto's sword and uses her own cursed energy expulsion to change the trajectory of the nails while in flight. The previously easily seen path would become significantly more unpredictable, less linear, and harder to read, especially if she's launching multiple nails at them consecutively. While this would require a somewhat larger upfront cursed energy cost on Kugisaki's end, not only has she never really shown us the bottom of her cursed energy reserves, but she would also be able to guarantee that she's landing multiple hits on her opponents right out the gate, as the nails would be able to hit them at some ridiculous angles and catch them entirely off guard. Not only is Nobara smart enough to figure out this little trick based on Haruto using his tactic against her before, but her naturally vindictive nature would also prompt her to add this to her arsenal just out of spite.
Yeah.
Taking the moves of someone who once beat you and improving upon it is just the kind of petty thing that Nobara would do, and this is just scratching the surface. Imagine having dozens of nails launched at you in quick succession, all of which having the capacity to change their trajectories at a moment's notice to catch you off guard, all while someone with Mei's skill in close quarters is pressing you. This little combination of attacks doesn't make her a special grade by any means, but most grade 1 sorcerers, and even curses beyond that level, would have a tough time dealing with this. The disorienting effect of these heat-seeking hairpins becomes even greater when fighting with an ally. Not only would Nobara be able to use this while fighting with someone like Yuji to restrict their opponent's movements and aid him in combat, but with the help of a teammate to distract, Nobara could supercharge her hammer and nail with curse energy to launch one ridiculously fast and potent projectile, reminiscent of the bullet fired at her during the Goodwill event. Once again, really effective, and really petty on Nobara's end. The combo attacks don't stop there either, as he demonstrated in the manga that she can think far enough ahead in battle to set up future hairpin damage against Mahito, and she can pull that off alone. Imagine what she could do in a group setting, especially when someone who understands the curse technique that she is using and how exactly she plans to use it in battle.
Yeah, like someone's like, right, this is what I need to do to back her up to get that done. Like, yo!
Firing off nails from all angles at high speeds, letting her opponent avoid them to lower their defenses, only to catch them in a circle of nails and detonate a massive resonating explosion of cursed energy, is the kind of strategy that would allow Nobara to handle some special grade curses in her own unique way. She could even work in some binding vow to superficially increase its power as well. In exchange for not being able to detonate those nails individually, by making them explode in tandem, their power could increase exponentially. If her normal attacks are able to do significant damage to a low-level special grade threat like Kechizu, the combined effect of the nails for a tandem resonance attack would be able to injure most characters in the series outright. All of this is already impressive, and that's only when talking about how she can apply her abilities without bypassing the body's defenses and without looking at the higher levels of Jujutsu in the story. What's more commonly talked about when it comes to Nobara and her potential is resonance, primarily because of its ability to damage the soul. Now, on top of Nobara being able to simply grab a piece of her opponent or make connections through their technique or physical body to attack them physically and spiritually at the same time, I think the best usage of this extension ability would be when casting a domain expansion. Since her technique is predicated on connections to her opponents, I think that forcing her enemy into her own innate domain to strengthen this connection beyond its normal limitations would be her best bet in most fights.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. You know what I mean? Because we're so close to the end. But you never know.
I know many people that don't think that highly of Nobara may not buy into the idea that she can open her own domain. However, the fact that she was able to land a Black Flash so early in her sorcerer career almost guarantees that she'd be able to take advantage of that cursed energy manipulation skill and create her own barrier. The idea for her domain simply comes from her game of chicken with Esso and Kechizu, except the stakes are heightened beyond belief. Immediately after casting her barrier, whoever is within its range will all be dropped into the same blank space that Nobara imagines all of those who are close to her in. And after this, the real battle starts. Nobara and whatever allies she may have with her at the time will fight their opponent as they normally would, and throughout this fight, whatever damage accumulates on Kugisaki's end could be reflected onto her opponents upon activating the domain's real sure hit technique. Now, this domain ability is quite broken, and as a result, there are a few conditions for it that are important to note. For one, Nobara can only utilize this ability once per domain opening. You can think of this as launching the antithesis if you're very familiar with Bleach. This means that it's Nobara's job to sustain as much damage as physically possible before launching the sure hit. Launching this attack before taking significant physical damage would essentially just guarantee that this was a waste. As a result, this means that Nobara has to walk a very thin line. Just like she was in the Esso and Kechizu fight, she has to take as much damage as possible in order to inflict it upon her opponent, but she also can't go overboard with the damage and outright kill herself, as that can get pretty risky depending on her opponent. Depending on the circumstances though, she can also use her sure hit as a deterrent for her opponent, as if she reveals the technique, it would make whoever she is fighting hesitant to even significantly harm her in that capacity. Something that could also play into her character is shown right before Idol Transfiguration fully takes effect, and this is Nobara's closeness with her own allies. For example, if someone like Yuji were pulled into the domain, because Nobara considers him a close friend and truly resonates with Itadori, a portion of the damage that he takes while fighting within the barrier could also be reflected onto their enemy as well. The limitation in this instance would be that the percentage of damage reflected is never 100%, at least when it comes to allies, and the amount returned diminishes based on her closeness to whoever she calls a friend or foe in this domain expansion. If, for example, Megumi, Maki, or Yuji were participants, she would be able to reflect anywhere from 80 to 90% of the injuries that they accrue within it. However, someone like Naobito, who Nobara has no close connection with, wouldn't be able to get any benefit from this resonating friendship at all. As I've been continually mentioning in this video, Nobara is an extremely strong combatant even individually when her potential starts to get unlocked, but it's when she's with those that she cares about that she become even more effective in a fight, much like Toto's portrayal rather consistently in the series with Yuji, which is honestly some of the highest praise I can send Nobara's way, considering how much I like Toto and how effective he is as a sorcerer. In this scenario, Nobara just continuously gets stronger and stronger and more effective in combat the more allies she's fighting alongside. And in the best case scenario, I could find her being a core piece of a squad to take on disaster class level threats in the story. Once again, very much like Toto, being unable to take on a character like Hanami, Mahito, Jogo, or Dagon alone, but when paired with a really strong, competent close quarters fighter, being able to make that battle a lot closer and a lot more realistic.
I mean, that is kind of what's happening right now.
Upgraded physical stats, heat-seeking hairpins, constantly soul-resonating attacks, and a domain expansion that just reflects all damage in the hands of Nobara leads to some pretty crazy stuff being pulled out in combat. In the event that Nobara does return to the manga, this video can hopefully exist as a testament to how useful she can be when working with a fellow competent sorcerer. And in the event she is actually dead, I hope this video exists like many of the other ones in the series, as an example of what she could have been if Mahito's schemes didn't get the best of her.
Although I played it safe. Like, she could come back. Because, I mean, we didn't have it confirmed. But then I got told that I was an idiot for thinking that way.
Let me know how strong you think Nobara could have gotten with her full potential down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video and want to see more, check out these videos where I cover Jogo's and Geto's full potential.
I think I've done both.
And before we close out this video, a quick reminder, click the link in my description to claim the Body Pillow Pack premium bonuses and Dakimuras while you still can. Once again, thank you to War Thunder for sponsoring this video. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.
Very cool. Okay, that was cool. I wanted to check that out as a bit of a joke. Like I was saying to my friend the day, I was like, everyone was giving me so much grief months ago. And then I feel justified, so I'm going to check this out. But I like how it was an approach of like, she could come back, and this is what it could be like. And that's cool, because he's kind of right. He's kind of right. But we shall see. And I'm going to check out Clyde's video on whether Nobara should have actually came back tomorrow, so keep the theme going. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video and want to be able to watch patron-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask. Help support channels. Greatly appreciate. Thank you for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? You guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.